Okay guys, here's another good fire resource with our possum mentality. You see that real light colored branch, you can see that from a mile away. That's Tulip Poplar, okay? Great for bow drill fires. But the bark of this Tulip Poplar is the best part, okay? Now some of this is wet because it's on the underside, and you can see that that's damp. But I'll tell you what, it makes the greatest cordage and the greatest bird nest in the world. So we can take that with us, dry it for later, and anything that's dry now we can use for a tinder bundle now, but anything that's wet now, you can see how shreddy that is and how great that stuff is. I'll put that in the opposite pocket to start drying out. I'll collect anything I can find that's dry on this tree and use that, and I'm going to remember exactly where this resource is because this will make a perfect bow drill set. Okay, nice big pond right here. Partially frozen over, not completely. You can still see spots where it's not frozen in the center. It's pretty slushy up front. Definitely not going to take a chance on walking across that at all. But you might be able to fish it. So let's talk a minute about water. Water's something I get lots of questions about on the internet. And I've heard a lot of people say, you know, collect the snow, collect the snow. Well, snow is 90% air. Ice is 90% water. Now you can see something's walked across that ice right out there when it was frozen really well. There's a set of tracks going across that ice, probably deer. But it's thawed out a lot now. So I can get water anywhere out of here. You can hear it running in the background over the top behind that log. But if it weren't running and it were all frozen, I would take the ice before I would take the snow. Okay guys, so real fast, let's talk about what's on my body that's part of my kit, other than my clothing, okay? And I think that you should have enough things on your body, or in your pockets, or whatever the case may be, that you do not have to have this pack in an extreme emergency. You can ditch this thing. You fall through the ice, whatever the case may be, you can dump this pack off so it doesn't drown you, get out, and you're still going to be okay. So, I have a Mora Bushcraft Black on my belt. Again, this is not what I would consider a bulletproof knife, but as long as I have a backup cutting tool, which I have in here, more than one, 2 is 1, 1 is none. As long as I have a backup cutting tool, I can get away with carrying something this lightweight. And that's the key, is to keep things as lightweight as possible, but still make sure that your gear is what I would call bulletproof or bomb-proof or reliable, good quality, whatever you want to call it. And a Mora knife is a fine quality knife. There is no question about it. And they're good common man price knives. Now the Bushcraft Black's a little more expensive, but it's also got a heavier blade on it. And I like that really well. The Robust series, all of those are good knives. The other thing that I have on my person all the time is I always have a Ferrocerium rod around my neck, a Ferrocerium rod of some kind. This one happens to be a Godspark by Firesteels.com. I carry several different brands, usually whatever I throw on my neck before I leave camp or the cabin or my house or whatever the case may be, that's what I've got. So I've always got that Firesteel so that I can attempt to make fire. And if I'm using possum mentality and collecting tinder along the way, I've always got that beat. Generally in my pocket, I will always carry some type of Surefire, and we'll talk about that in just a few minutes when we go through the kit. I'm going to show you one of the things that I carry that I consider Surefire is not something that I sell on my website, but it's readily available. So stay with me, and we're going to go through this kit. Okay guys, so let's talk about this pack, all right? I showed this pack frame in a video not very long ago. It's made by Bullpack. It's a very good frame. Very heavy duty design, nice comfortable waist and shoulder straps, nice comfortable back pad. It's, you know, it's pretty expensive, but to me, there's a difference between common man and common sense. You know, common man means I buy it as cheap as I can. Common sense tells me I buy the best product I can at the best price that's going to last me a lifetime because I'm not going to buy it twice. Okay? So let's get that out of the way first. Now, let's talk about this, okay? This is a 30-liter Pathfinder dry bag. You could use anything. It wouldn't matter if it was a sea line or whatever the case may be, as long as it's a good, heavy-duty, durable dry bag. What's inside this depends on the seasonality. Could be a wool blanket. In this case, it is a black Arctic bag with a Gore-Tex bivvy, military sleep system, no green bag. This is plenty warm for me. There's also a pillowcase in here. There's also an extra wool sweater in here. Just a wool army sweater. I keep that in the very top so that I can get to it if I need to in case I get wet for some reason. Now, one thing that I generally keep inside that bag as well, that I don't have in that bag right now, but I wanted to make sure I could show it to you before we went through the kit so I wouldn't have to open this bag up, pull it off the shelf and all that stuff is, I carry just it's like a Condor pouch that holds 12 shotgun shells, all right? Remember, I have 5 on the gun. I don't have to get to this real quick. It can be buried in my kit as spare ammunition. I have 2 slugs in here, right here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 shot. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 8 shot. So that gives me, you know, everything I need to take any kind of game I have to take. Even if it's longer than 1 to 3 days, I can do it with this kit. All right? So, let's talk about what's inside the top of this thing. Now, again, I've had a lot of guys ask me, you know, why don't you have a lid on that thing? Why don't you have that thing waterproofed? Aren't you worried about water getting inside of it? No, I'm not. No, I'm not. Everything in here is waterproof for the most part, or something. I don't care if it gets wet. There's a plug in the bottom of it with 1 hole so it drains. I keep that plug in one of my bags so that I can plug it if I have to for collecting water. But I already have a lot of containers for collecting water. That dry bag on the bottom is a 30-liter water container. What's inside here is very simple. I have a pouch with my water bottle and my cup. And sometimes these are kind of hard to get out of here. And the only reason this thing's in a pouch, really, is so that if I want to do a scout away from camp and I want to carry water with me, I can throw this thing on the belt of the military butt pack that I carry. We'll get to in a few minutes, okay? My cup's had the handle taken off of it. It has had 2 holes drilled in it. What I carry inside my water bottle is very simple. I carry cotton material, one of the 10Cs, so I can make char cloth or use it for hygiene, bandaging, any of those things. And then I carry a very simple titanium spoon and fork and a bottle hanger, okay? This bottle hanger will work for either the cup, sometimes you got to spread it out a little bit, will work for either the cup now to hang it over the fire, or it will work for the bottle to hang it over the fire. So it works for either one. You notice the bottle's empty, okay? Why is Dave not carrying water? Dave generally doesn't carry water, especially in eastern woodlands, because you trip over it. You know, I'm at a spot right now off of a trail junction, and there is a stream, a pond, and a creek within 80 yards of me right now. So I've got all the water I could possibly need. You trip over water in eastern woodlands. If you're going to carry water with you, you know, it's because you really need water. Like it's summertime, it's really hot outside, you're sweating, things like that. But I can collect that water anytime I want to and put it in my pack, and I don't have to worry about bringing water from the house. Now, am I worried about disinfecting that water? Maybe yes, maybe no. If it's someplace that I drink out of all the time, or I know the water is going to be fairly clean, in the eastern woodlands most of the time it is, to be honest with you, then I carry iodine, I carry things like that with me, or I boil the water. But to be honest with you, 95% of the time I drink the water, and I have never, ever, ever been sick on water anywhere in the world. Never been sick on water. That doesn't mean you can't get sick on it. It means I haven't, okay? So I carry this kit inside this pouch, and again, it doesn't matter if this gets wet, I could care less. And it's just so that I can put this thing on a belt if I want to carry it away from camp. There's kind of a tight fit in there, that cup. Doesn't want to go over that very well. All right, so that's that. 2 waterproof bags in here, okay? And we'll talk about these bags one at a time. I have a set of ice creepers in the bottom of this thing. Again, it's winter time. I have ice creepers, not snowshoes. We usually don't get, you know, 5 feet of snow. We usually get 5 inches, but we do have a lot of frozen water and things like that. Like I said, there's a pond right across from where I'm at right now. So I've got a pair of ice creepers in case I'm walking across icy stuff. Looks like I got something stuck in them right now. Okay. And then, like I said, just a military butt pack for scouting away from camp real quick, and I can put my knife on there, I can put my water bottle on there, and I can go and put whatever necessities I need in here, quick emergency blankets, things like that, for, you know, emergency shelter type situations. Those can go in there when I walk away from camp, so I just shove them in the bottom. All right, 2 bags. The first bag is a black Sea Line 5-liter bag, and it is basically my sheltering kit. Anything that I need to build shelter with is in this bag. There's about 100 feet of brown paracord in here. There's a 55-gallon drum liner in here. Obviously, we've talked about that thousands of times. You know, rain gear, water collection, water moisture barrier on the ground, you name it, you can use it. That bag is great to have with you all the time. And then I have a roll in here that basically has 2 steel cord bungee cords. It has the Pathfinder trail tarp, which is a 7-foot by 7-foot sil nylon tarp. It has 7 stakes, ABS plastic stakes. I carry stakes. I don't want to have to make them. If I'm trying to make my shelter in a hurry, I don't want to be looking for stakes. They don't weigh anything, I'll carry them. Then I got 4 or 5 hanks of paracord rope in there as well for putting shelter up in quick fashion. And then it's wrapped by bungee cords that I can use to stretch my tarp out for a ridge line. So that is my complete sheltering kit, all waterproofed, all in another container, okay? So you can see where my redundancies are starting to lie. You know, container, 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 container. I've got a lot of containers. I also have quite a few cutting tools, which you'll see in a minute. But that bag, that 5-liter bag, will build all the shelter I need. I'm sorry, I forgot to mention. Also inside this, my bad guys, inside this is an emergency space blanket. Let me just undo these real quick. So in this roll, there's a reusable emergency space blanket, and then down at the bottom, there are several stakes and rolls of paracord. And that all gets rolled up into a tight ball and folded over. Then I put those steel cord bungee cords around it just to hold it together, and I put that inside the dry bag. Just like that, okay? So that covers our sheltering kit and the 5-liter bag. Okay, 10-liter dry bag. This 10-liter dry bag has 1 carabiner on it. It's a real heavy duty one. Like I said, it's going to be for use with ropes if I need that for some reason. Rope is just another type of cordage. I'm going to carry it. Doesn't weigh enough to make it worthwhile for me not to have it. So in this dry bag, I have everything else that I would need to affect survivability, even in a longer term situation, but this really is set up for a short term. 1 to 3 days, but you could go a lot longer than that with it if you had to. I have a bottle of oil in here for maintenance of my gear and my gun. Multi-tool, Leatherman core. It's the only one I would recommend other than the Super Tool 300. I have a compass pouch in here that has a whistle attached to it. I have a Sunto MC2 World Compass, an extra signaling mirror, which is just a star flash right here in the back, and this pouch works really good for this stuff. There's an extra Fresnel lens in there, again, multiple ways to start fire, and then there's a few map reading cards and things like that in there that are miniaturized for use with maps if you have a map with you. That all goes in just a military surplus style grenade pouch. I have a Lansky's diamond rod for honing my knife. Baco Laplander saw. This is the only folding saw that I would recommend, period. They're not that expensive. They're pretty well common man priced at 25 to 30 bucks on our website. But this is a bulletproof saw. This one here is 3 to 4 years old and it cuts like new money. So I have my Bushcraft Black, I have a multi-tool, and I have a saw. So I'm not going to do anything with that Bushcraft Black to process firewood because I can do that with a saw, except for carving shavings. I have a headlamp, Princeton Tech, multiple settings including flash. in a container just to keep it from getting smacked around. I have a whole roll of number 36 bank line. And for those who are questioning what bank line is, it is a tarred mariner's net line. This is what they make gill nets and things like that out of. You can get this off my website, but you can also get it from net supply companies if you ask them for tarred mariner's bank line. The stuff Walmart carries doesn't have tar on it anymore, so you can't get this at Walmart anymore. That roll right there will last a long, long time and do a whole lot of stuff. I have an extra pair of wool socks in here. Just a pair of heavy-duty, long, green socks. I have a ration bag. Go ahead and put my knee on something here to keep my pants from getting wet. I have a ration bag, which is just an old pistachio bag that I've replaced a drawstring with number 36 bank line. There's enough food in here for 3 days, if needs be in an emergency. Of course, I plan on supplying my own meat with that, or some additional meat with that, but this would get me by 3 days if I had to have it. And basically I have inside this bag, I have 3 emergencies to keep my immune system up. I have 2 packets of peanut butter. I have 2 packets of an instant soup that was made by a friend of mine. It's basically 2 instant packets of vegetable soup with a bouillon cube. 2 different types of beef jerky. I have some here that was made by someone that I know, and then I have a pemmican brand. And I have 2 bags of Spanish rice. And then I have 3 packets of hot cocoa. With that, there's plenty of food right there for 3 days in an emergency situation. And it all goes into this bag pretty quick and convenient and easy. Doesn't take up a lot of room, doesn't weigh a whole lot. You've got a lot of carbohydrates, a lot of protein there, and those are the things that you need. And then you've got energy with the chocolate, and you've got immune boosters, vitamin nutrients with your vegetable soups, and you've got immune boosters with the vitamin C, okay? So everything that you need to get through a 3-day scenario and then some is in that bag for sure. Like I said, I just replaced that tie line in there with number 36 bank line. And again, this goes in a waterproof dry bag, so it's not going to get wet or ruined. I have 1 packet of Clorox Wipes. All right, why rough it when you can smooth it? Okay, if I've got to take a quick down and dirty bath or use the bathroom, them Clorox Wipes do the trick, and they don't weigh anything. I got a whole roll of 2-inch Gorilla Tape. Anything else ain't worth carrying. You might as well carry the whole roll because duct tape fixes everything. More cotton material. A drive-on rag. Again, bandaging, char cloth, washing, whatever the case may be. And then I have an MSR Seagull pot that contains basically my fire kit and the remainder of what I would consider self-aid, or what some people would call first aid. All right, in my opinion, if you get hurt worse than you can fix with your 10-piece kit, you probably need a medevac. But there are some things like medications that are worth carrying for sure. All right, what do I have in this kit? All right, I have a piece of fuel line with a copper tube in it, and I can blow on this to direct air to a fire so that I can get embers started in the morning real easy. That works really good for that. It's dandy for starting up fires. I got some steel wool, a brand new lighter, a blanket pin of sorts that I can use if I need to close something up real quick or do a repair. I have some Prid drawing salve in case I get a thorn or locust branch, something like that, a splinter. I've got that drawing salve with me so I don't have to worry about trying to harvest it. Again, it doesn't weigh much. I have a New Myth container that has about 4 sail needles and some bank line in it. Again, this goes to repair as well as first aid. A P38. You never know when you're going to come across a can in the wild that you might need to cut the top off of real fast. Doesn't weigh anything, might as well carry it. I have 1 small film canister that has about 25 aspirin in it. This is the only type of painkiller that I carry, is just aspirin. All right. A Firesteel, another Firesteel. 2 is 1, 1 is none. A bottle of 2% tincture of iodine, again, goes to first aid, goes to water disinfection. A small magnifying glass, the one we saw on our website. Solar Fire is always a good choice if you've got the sun. Comes in a small velour pouch. Then I have 2 zip bricks, which is what I consider surefire. I usually keep one of these in my pocket as well. They're in a cellophane wrapper. They burn really, really well, and they burn for a long time. You can cut this thing in 4 pieces, no problem. One of these bricks will burn for about 20 minutes. So I would consider that surefire. And then I have just a merino wool buff in here that I use, number 1, for cold weather. Number 2, I can use this for a bag to put all the contents of this in by tying a knot in one end of it, or both ends, and hanging it off my shelter when I'm using this pot to cook with. And all that goes inside here. So there's really not a whole lot that I'm lacking or that I need, even for a longer term scenario, than what I have with me right now. I've got the 10 C's covered completely, and I've got some redundancies within the 5 C's. I've got a little bit of first aid stuff with me, only what I would consider absolutely necessary, nothing extra. For the most part, my first aid is covered by the 10 C's. All right, I have a needle, I have a mirror on my compass, I have a knife, I have bandaging material and all the cotton that I carry. I have, that just about covers it. I mean, if it's worse than that, you really got a problem. Okay, and I've got duct tape. So those things will fix most of your ills. And then all of this stuff now fits inside this 10-liter dry bag, and that gives me basically my kit. The only other thing that's in here is another big wad of cotton material that I can use for a scarf, that I can use for holding pots and pans, whatever the case may be, if I need to get them off the fire, or I can use it for bandages and first aid.